Before we get to our main project, Joan Hawley is back again with some tips and techniques for us. Hi, Joan.
Hi, Kay.
Looks like we're going to do something with yarn.
We are. You know, I really like the look of the crocheted and knitted felted purses, but I don't know how to do that.
Okay.
So I found a way around it, and let me show you what we're talking about. Here we have a small handbag, and I've covered it with a crocheted piece of yarn. And so what we started with was this fabulous ball of yarn, but it was too lightweight and too thin to do a felted bag. So let's see how I turn this ball into this bag.
Sounds like a good idea.
Okay. So here we have a wonderful collection of more yarn. And how do we pick out fabric to go with this? We'll pick a color and start pulling from your stash and see what looks good.
Okay, do you usually start with the yarn or do you start with the fabric?
I start with the yarn on this.
Okay.
So as you can see, we've got some burgundies and some reds and some grays. So this is going to make a very nice purse when it's all done.
Okay.
Now remember, there's not much science to this. This is very easy. Let's set this aside. Once we crochet our yarn, we're going to take some fusible web. And this is the stuff that's just a little sticky on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not a great crocheter like I am, and you're not a great knitter, it doesn't really matter. Because look what we have here. This is what I've crocheted, and it's just kind of lumpy and uneven, and my edges are uneven. It's all right.
Oh, really?
It is. Here we've cut a piece of fabric. We've layered it with our fusible web, and it's a little tacky. And now we're just going to press our crocheted piece and fuse it to our purse piece.
Okay, and you mentioned earlier you want steam, right?
We want a little bit of steam because of our fusible web. And if you'll notice, our crochet piece doesn't come all the way up to the edge.
Right.
That's all right. We're just going to give it a little stretch.
We'll make it work,
Stick it to the
won't we?
project. That's right. And it's all right if it's a little oversized. It's all right if it's a little undersized. The beauty of this is that it's all going to get sewn into the seams of the project.
Now this is crocheted. Would it have to be crocheted?
No, not at all. You can do this with knit or any other type of needlework. And then just for an extra measure, let's go ahead and give it a press from the other side.
Okay.
Make sure that that goes all the way through the fusible. And then where we go from here is, you can see our project is a little bit wider than the fabric that we need for the purse.
Okay.
So we're going to go ahead and stitch just to secure the edges, and we're going to cut off that yarn that we don't need.
Okay, so we're going to stitch following the black piece.
The edge of the fabric.
Mm-hmm.
So I've gone ahead and set up my machine. And how do we choose what we need for this? Well, we have a walking foot. I chose the foot that had the widest piece of metal to give me the biggest surface.
Okay.
We don't want the foot to get caught on any of the loops or fibers that might stick up from our project.
Mm-hmm.
So we really want something to just glide over our project and keep it all in place. I have a standard size needle. Here I've moved my needle position to the right a little just so I can get close to the edge. And you can lengthen your stitch a bit. And if you come to a little buckle like we have here, just press it down. It'll be fine.
Okay.
And we'll do this around the whole project.
This looks to me like a good project for somebody who is starting to knit or crochet and their first project isn't quite what they want it to be.
Exactly.
They can turn it into a purse.
Imagine if you started off making a scarf and it was a little too wide and a little too short. I think you're halfway to a bag. So let's just finish this, and then I'll show you the next step, which is there's a little piece that we need to cut out to finish our bag. So it couldn't be easier. Look at that. So here we go. We've stitched all the way down the side, and you can see the indentation where our stitches are. Mm-hmm. And if you'll turn this over, I have already marked our project with a little cutout. Now if you'll give that one more pressing, we just want to make sure that it's all going to stick together. And we're just going to cut that off, and we want to make sure we get a good clean cut. Fantastic. I can tell just by looking at it that it's going to stick well. Okay, now again, we've made this mark, and we're going to sew around that, and we're going to use that as our guide we want to stitch right next to it. Here we go. One of the nice things about this is accuracy is not real important.
Well, that's good to know.
It is. It's very forgiving. We really just want to secure all the layers because, again, this is going to be sewn into the side edges of the bag, which brings up another good point. You know, we started off with a really thin yarn. If you were to work with a thicker yarn, you might not be able to sew through those final side seams on your project due to the bulk. So let's go ahead and cut that. And now that we've secured it, we can just cut along that line. And you know, it really sounds scary to cut into yarn like that, but this is okay. You can see that it's nice and secure, and it's going to stay together for our entire project. And when we're finished, we can match it with some fashion handles and a couple pieces of fabric for our lining and for some inside pockets. And this is what our finished bag is going to look like.
You know, I think it is really, I can't get over the fact that this is that thin yarn. Because this really is. I mean, it's very thin.
It is. It seems much hardier, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does. It's going to make a great purse.
And we fused it to a very thin layer of cotton, and our webbing is almost nothing. So start thin, you'll get a nice hardy bag. We don't need any batting or interfacing, and you'll have a beautiful crocheted bag.
And you know, it almost looks felted.
It does.
Yep.
We call this mock felting.
Mock felting. So you saved all that trouble of doing the felting.
And the guesswork, because with felting you crochet or knit something large, then the felting process shrinks it and binds the fibers. We just eliminated the shrinking and we bound the fibers right to the surface of our project.
So we used a lot less yarn.
We did use a lot less yarn, yes.
Let's take a look now at your green purse that's finished. I just think that is stunning. That looks like a very expensive purse.
And you'd never think that we started off with an awkward, poorly crocheted, fabulous piece of yarn.
And I like what you've done up here on the handles. You just wrap the yarn around?
We found another yarn with just a little more color and a little darkness, wrapped it as an accent, and voila, there's our bag.
Well, thank you, Joan. I know our viewers out there, especially those with some odd pieces that they don't know what to do with, are going to be anxious to get started on a project like this.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kay.